Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a chapter where a simple rescue mission just completely shatters reality, uncovering a pretty terrifying truth about power, memory, and control. Okay, so let's get right into it with the one line that changes absolutely everything. You have to picture this. The main character, Karen, runs his hand along a tunnel wall, expecting to feel cold rock or brick, but no, he feels living tissue. This is the moment they realize the very foundation of their world, this huge protective wall, is not at all what it seems. So first up, let's really dig into the secret of this living wall, because it's not a structure, it's something way, way stranger. Get this. The characters are literally walking through the body of some mysterious giant entity. It's not a fortress. The source material says it actually breathes with the pulse of crystals, and that it feeds on memories. I mean, imagine that. You're in a place where the past isn't just history, it's physically embedded in the walls all around you. So pretty quickly, their path is blocked. But this isn't just any old door. They call it the lock of will. You can't force it open, there's no password, there's no key. It wants something much more personal, something from inside you. And I think this is just such a cool concept. To open this lock, Karen has to find a genuine, pure memory. Specifically, he remembers his father telling him that truth always hurts less than a lie. The raw, real emotion from that memory causes a single tear to fall, and that tear is the key. It unlocks the door. It's basically magic powered by pure sincerity. Okay, so now they're through the door and moving to the very center of the wall. And what they find there, well, it's both a huge personal discovery and the beginning of a dark conspiracy. And there he is, floating inside this transparent, kind of egg-shaped vessel, is the one person Karen came all this way to find, his father. But he's not dead, and he's not really alive either. He's just suspended. So boom, quest complete, right? Well, not exactly. Finding him just opens up 1,000 more questions. And this is where the bigger mystery really starts to unfold. Scratched into the chamber walls are these warnings, left by his dad, and every single one of them just flips their entire worldview on its head. The wall isn't for protection, the scary shadow guardians aren't enemies. You start to realize this isn't just a prison for one guy, it's a prison for how an entire society sees the world. Just as they're trying to process all of this world-altering stuff, someone completely unexpected shows up, Luna. She's a high-ranking enforcer, and they had every reason to think she was their enemy. But the Luna who walks in isn't the cold, by-the-book enforcer they know. She tells them she's actually been working against her own people, shutting down surveillance so they could get this far. And why? Turns out, she and Karen have a forgotten childhood connection, a bond that the regime literally erased from their memories. She's not a silent enforcer anymore. She's a whistleblower. And her motivation is just summed up perfectly in this line. For her, this isn't about betraying her father, who, by the way, is the head of the entire council. It's about making a choice to go after the truth, even if it means tearing down the very world she was raised to protect. And here is the absolute bombshell she drops on them. The council, the city's leaders, has a terrifying endgame in mind. They plan to fully activate the wall, turning it from a simple barrier into a massive, collective brain that can control the mind of every single citizen. And the final piece of their puzzle? Fully absorbing the consciousness of Karen's father. This revelation, as you can imagine, leads to the final, stunning twist of the chapter, where the very idea of who their enemy is gets completely redefined. So, with all these new pieces, the living wall, the cryptic messages from Dad, the council's insane plan, the group starts to connect the dots. They begin to question the one foundational myth of their city, the threat of the so-called shadow guardians. And here it is, the big secret. The guardians were never some external monster they had to fight. They're a reflection. One character puts it perfectly. The guardians don't kill, they influence. They're like a giant mirror, just showing a city all the fear and darkness that's already inside it. And this line is the core truth of the entire discovery. That massive living wall, it wasn't built to keep monsters out. It was built to keep the citizens in, to stop them from facing their own true nature, their own potential. Their greatest protection is actually their prison. But there is zero time to let this profound truth sink in. Suddenly, an alarm starts blaring through the chamber. Luna warns them. The council's guards are on their way. They've got 5 minutes. 5 minutes to get out. In a moment of pure clarity, Karen makes a call. They can't free his father. Not now, not like this. The physical rescue is off the table. But they can escape with something way more powerful, the truth. They decide to leave, not as kids on a failed rescue mission, but as revolutionaries, armed with the knowledge to bring the whole system down. And that's what we're left with. This story takes a fantasy problem and makes it something universal, something about that trade-off between feeling safe and being free. It really makes you think about the walls we all build in our own lives and what it would take for us to finally tear them down.